Okay, you're good to go, Tim.
Well,
All right.
just preparing.
Kate, is Katie Ann on? Yep, Katie Ann. Katie Ann, are you fine with everybody that's listed here as far as attending?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, you're good to go, Tim.
Well,
All right. Beth said we were still loading up.
I think we're good.
Are we good? All right, 6:01 p.m. We'll call the meeting to order. Recognition of visitors. You've already covered that. Katie Ann's got everybody covered. Approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion in a second?
Rutland County will make a motion.
Second.
Wyndham
Brandon, I'll
County.
second that.
There we go.
That was Wyndham that I heard the most clear.
Yep.
Okay.
Any additions, changes to the agenda for this evening?
Yes, I'd like to cross off B.
New business.
Yep, new business B, the vote on the letter of credit authorization. We're actually going to do that next month. You don't need to table it. We're just going to put it on next month's agenda. They're still getting, I sent you all what was a template, but they're actually getting us the real document. So the Long Range Planning Committee is going to go over the real document. We're going to bring it to your attention in November and then give you some options of ways to formulate that 1 million that we need to put aside. So let's put that off till next month. And then I would need to add Roger Goslin will be talking about safety committee and this new dispatch program.
We're gonna insert that in slot B.
Yeah, you could do that. Sure. Yeah, let's do that.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Are there any other additions or changes to tonight's agenda?
Yeah, I've got an addition. I just barely sent everybody an email, forwarded an email that I received this afternoon. So we have a landowner issue in Pulteney that
Okay.
needs to be discussed.
All right, Jeff A will make you D then.
Sounds good.
All right. Any other additions to tonight? All right, here now we'll take the vote. All those in favor of the amended agenda, say aye.
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 Those against, nay. Motion carries. Secretary's report. I need a motion in a second.
Adams County makes a motion.
Rutland County will second.
All right. Any additions or corrections to the secretary's report for August 23rd, 2021? We do have the Patty Kampanik. She sent in an email form, so it should be able to be added to it, corrected as presented on this email. Are there any others? All right, here now we'll take it to a vote. All those in favor of approving the corrected secretary's report, say aye.
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 Those against, nay. Motion
Someone
carries.
said wait.
Well, I didn't hear
I
it.
had a question. I haven't seen this Patty email, so.
Well, it was her own section that she was correcting, so you probably may not have picked up on.
Carmen, the correction was there's a paragraph that just needs to be relocated in the minutes. It's not the wording, it's just where it's located.
Okay, and so what part of the minutes was that? Sorry. Under
It was
committee?
under, no, it was under the financial treasurer's report. And then it had, excuse me, then it had part of the committee report under the treasurer's report. It should have been down under committees.
Okay, just got it. Okay, thank you.
All right, Carmen, I'd appreciate it if you could speak a little louder or longer so that it picks up with the mic. I can't always hear it if it's only a quick word. All right, is everybody all set, or are there any other questions, additions, or corrections to the treasurer's report or secretary's report? All right, here and then we'll take it to a vote. All those in favor of approving the amended secretary's report, say aye.
Aye.
Those against, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Treasurer's report, Patty.
Tim, real quick,
Yeah,
the minutes, the treasurer's, secretary's report was corrected, not amended, please.
it was correct as corrected.
Thank you.
Yes. Treasurer's report. I trust everybody's had a chance to read it. I'm going to need a motion in a second before we can discuss it.
Washington County moves to approve the treasurer's report.
Second,
Windsor County will second it.
thank you. Would you like to present it, please, Patty?
Patty's having
Treasurer-
some
yes,
internet
I'm
issues.
sorry.
Oh, there she is. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. I'm having internet problems. I don't know if I'm breaking up on your end, but I am. Cindy, you have my email?
Yeah, we can hear you just
Can
fine,
you all hear
Patty.
me?
Yeah.
I'll try. If I break up, then you have it. As of September 2021, it was 12 months. It was actually the last month of the budget, or 100% of the season. So the budget is 3.2. Again, I'm rounding. We had a monthly activity about 42K, and 12K, almost 13K was the SSTP. 11K, a little more than that, was from media sales. And there was an incorrect 15K transfer into general funds that should actually be moved to the economic study reserves account. So that'll be reflected with the change. We've already contacted Sheila. So we exceeded the budget at 129K, or we finished the year at 104. But once that 15K moves, those are the numbers you're looking at. Our income will actually be 114K exceeding the budget versus the 129. Am I still coming through okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Expenses, the budget again, 2.8. Monthly activity was 156K, of which 49K of it was in trails. Green Mountain National Fund had almost 37K of it, almost 7K in trail signage, and almost 12K for the annual meeting. So our actual expenses for the year, for the budget year, was 2.4, again rounding. So we were 344K of expense budget, extra balance, if you will. We only used 88% of what we approved last year was utilized. So at the annual meeting, we voted to move the money into reserves accounts based on percentages of the balance as we finished our year, which was September. So grooming was 0.067, equipment 7.68, building 7.68, emergency 15.37, disaster relief 10.25, and special projects 7.68. And then we moved 51.24% or 100K into new insurance. And then the economic impact reserve, the 15K will move over into that line item as well. So that's the report for the treasurer.
All right. Thank you, Patty. Are there any questions for Patty on these items?
No, can I just ask Patty just a quick question? Can you just
Yes.
send me your email? Because I obviously didn't get all those numbers were rattling them. Sorry. I'm quick, but I'm not that
I already
quick.
have it in email. I can just forward. That's okay. I
Thank
can
you.
forward it. I already have it. I sent it to Katie for the minutes. Yep.
Are there any other questions for Patty on the treasurer's report?
The board, just so the board knows, I will forward this email to all of you. Because I've got all your email addresses. Patty doesn't.
Thanks, Cindy.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, we'll take it to a vote. All those in favor of accepting the treasurer's report as reported, say aye.
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 Those against,
Aye.
say. Motion carried. There are no tabled items. There's nothing on the consent calendar. There's no old business, new business. A OSRG update.
Do you want me to go ahead, Cindy?
I knew if I didn't talk for very long that you'd pipe up, so sure, yeah.
So we've been progressing along the steps. Cindy, we received a timeline of everything we've done so far for the RRG creation, which was forwarded to you this afternoon. Where we're at is we had a few small edits on the governance documents, and now we are to the point of waiting for our actuarial analysis. We have already identified the directors and officers, so we'll have our draft application for review hopefully by the middle of the month. You'll see the note down the bottom. We could get this formed in time for the end of the year, but it would just mean we'd have to pay the filing fees and the refiling fees for this year, and we won't be writing any policies. So it didn't seem to us that it made much sense to do that when we can just form next year. That extra 2 weeks isn't going to mean much. The other thing that I wanted to note that we there were a couple of amendments, or not amendments, but changes, edits we had to make to the letter of credit language. And we're just waiting for, are we still waiting for the Department of Financial Regulations approval of that change, Cindy? I hadn't seen it. I'm assuming it's just going to be a pro forma thing because it was just updating the date of publishing of one of the statutes that it referenced.
Yeah, we're just waiting. We know that they're going to, they know that we've decided to not ask the board to vote on anything until November. So
Right.
yeah, we're just waiting, maybe a week or so.
Right. So that's where we are. We're still in the formation processes, and we're almost ready to start it up. And I can answer some questions. I will say I was at the Maine show this weekend, and I was approached by Alan Sweat, the executive vice president of the Maine Snowmobile Association, and he had said that when we first requested information for them, again, we were only asking for information to give to our actuary, that he wanted to get in with us because and then not long after that, they actually received a cancellation letter from their insurance company. And then they talked to the insurance commissioner in the state, or someone had some pull with them. And again, just like us, they get offered again. I don't know what their raised premium will be, but he said he thinks they should be part of it. And that one of their former board members is a experienced insurance person, and they'd like to get the presentation and discussion points that we spoke with other states and organizations about. So I sent him an email today. I say, hey, we're happy to set up this meeting, but I haven't heard back from him yet. But that's a positive. If Maine thinking about it, that's good. But that's where we are. It's do some editing, wait, and then we'll have something hopefully in November to vote on. Any questions? Go ahead, Carmen.
So that was gonna be one of my questions, because I see that on the timeline or progress report that was sent, we have 7. And that was gonna be my question. Can we add people like as we go, and even after it's created, can people be, or other organizations added?
Yes. So what the plan is now is that it's going to be us. We're going to learn how to do this. And when we feel comfortable that other organizations have similar risk profiles, we will make them pitches, or not pitches, but give them a quote on what their premium would be with us. There are different levels you can do. We could have someone just get a policy and pay a premium, or there could be someone who wanted to come in on an equity basis, who would have had voting rights as such. It's not exactly clear which way we'll go, but we want to learn how it works for us before we start asking anyone to join us and make any type of promises or anything. when we've spoken to the organizations, we've tried to make it very clear that it's not a sales pitch right now. We're just asking for data from their insurance history to help us set this up. But if we find it works and it will save them money and help with their control, and they have a decent risk profile that matches with ours, we would be giving them a premium quote so that they could see if they wanted to join.
Gotcha. Okay.
Anyone else? All right.
I just want to thank you, Mark, and everybody on the board there, the committee, just for doing all this. I know it's a lot of work behind the scenes, and I really appreciate it.
Well, you're welcome. I tell you what, it's a learning curve.
It sure
All I
is.
knew
No,
about insurance was I pay a premium every month.
yeah, no, Doug, thank you for that. Yeah, it definitely has been a learning curve, and luckily we have a management company that's leading us through this. So it's really, yeah, we've definitely been going to school, but we've got some good folks that are teaching us, and we feel very confident that we're moving in the right direction for everybody.
Sounds like
And
it's
I'll
gonna
be
a
honest, I
learning
don't think
curve for us.
it would have ever come up or been pursued had it not been for the fact that so much of this industry is centered here in Vermont, and that I knew just from working in Montpelier that there was a lot of insurance types and the captive stuff. So if that wasn't centered here, I don't know if it would have ever crossed our minds or anything. But here's hoping that I believe we've done the right thing, and now we just have to make sure we have.
Any other questions for Mark? All right, thank you, Mark. B is now Roger Goslin, Safety Committee.
Cindy, am I able to share my screen, do you think?
Well, I'm gonna make you host. Just make me host after you're done.
Oh, gladly.
Your host.
If you're the host, Roger, you're supposed to be providing the snacks.
Yeah, I'd love to have some snacks right about now. All right, can everybody see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is just a very, very short presentation that the safety committee has pretty much come up with as basically an attempt to, somebody entered the waiting room. I got to admit them. It's a phone number.
Sorry.
This is a lot of work being the host here. Anyway, so we tried to develop some sort of program or some sort of template / baseline to help clubs connect with dispatch centers in the state in the event that there is some sort of emergency involving their trail. And as I go through this, it'll answer probably some of the questions that are popping into your heads right now. The reason why we started to push for this now versus earlier was as of September 16th, the entire state was on the same dispatch program called Valcor. And if you do any sort of Google search, type in Valcor in Vermont, you'll hear the stories about the drama going into everybody moving over to one program. But it kind of fell on its face a little bit there. It was too many agencies at once. So now the go live date is November 1. About half of the state is on Valcor now as it is. And then hopefully after November 1, the rest of the state will be on there. What that means is everybody in the state, every dispatch center in the state, police department and stuff like that will be sharing the same information. So we have access to all the same stuff that I have access to the same stuff in Newport as people do down in Bennington County. And just a little background, I work for Newport Police part-time as a dispatcher. So that's kind of where my knowledge base comes from this. All right. So the purpose of this program is to provide emergency communication dispatch centers with important contact information for clubs if needed. It may be for ongoing emergencies or for after the fact. An emergency has happened and now there is some sort of trail issue that needs to be addressed. We can now, the dispatch centers can now contact the snowmobile clubs that service that specific area. It is an optional program. We had some people nervous about liability. So certainly it's optional. This is just kind of a tool in the toolbox for dispatchers. There's no sort of commitment or anything from the clubs needed. And it's going to assist with notifying clubs about issues on their trail systems. So what this program is not is a requirement for clubs. I mean, I suppose unless you guys decided to make it that way, it doesn't need to be. It's not to be used in lieu of notifying the emergency agencies. So if an accident or something happens on the trails, this is not for dispatch to contact clubs first by any means. Clubs would be contacted after the emergency has stabilized and kind of settled down, and sometimes maybe even after, in the hours following after or the day after. It is not a guarantee that clubs will be notified about emergencies, so it's not a requirement for dispatchers to use this. Again, it's just another tool in the toolbox in the event that we need it during an emergency. And it'll be for non-emergency use only. So meaning you shouldn't be expecting a phone call from a dispatcher in the middle of an emergency expecting immediate action and emergent action on behalf of the clubs. Examples of different notifications that you would probably get from a dispatcher would be a dangerous trail condition that may have led to a crash or with injury or fatality. So a washout, and we're obviously talking about large washouts here, flooding in the trails, tree across the trails, anything like that that you can imagine. A crash or a snowmobile fire in which the snowmobile is now impeding the trail. So basically, if there's a crash and the snowmobile gets left in the middle of the trail, or if the snowmobile catches fire in the middle of the trail, and now you've got a burned pile of rubble, this would be a way for the dispatchers to reach out to you guys to come up with some sort of solution on how to fix it. Because currently right now we don't have that. We don't really know who to call. You can't call AAA for a snowmobile in the middle of the trail. Another notification would be missing or vandalized signage leading to a crash. So if there's a crash that happens and it's not necessarily fatal, or even if it doesn't really cause an injury, but it does cause damage and police are notified and they're investigating the crash, it would be nice for them to know which club to reach out to address the missing stop sign or something like that, anything that may need club intervention. Obviously, we strive for excellence, but Mother Nature runs its course and sometimes screws things up for us, and people steal signs and all sorts of stuff. Or if there's a trail closure due to an extended incident. So if there's some sort of death investigation happening on the trails, those can last for hours, depending on where they are. And if a groomer were to be involved with a crash, God forbid that happens, that would completely block a trail. We can, now shut the trail down and allow the investigators to do their job. So kind of the way that the system works is a template for emergency contacts would be provided. Ideally, when I kind of came up with this idea, it was to provide it to the county directors, and the county directors would now get this information from their clubs. It would be the club. I would need a club address as well in order to put it into the system, the towns they cover, and then 3 emergency contacts. And again, I stress emergency contacts. So these are not going to be numbers that are published in the VAST magazine or on the VAST website. These are for dispatch center use only. And it may happen that these do match the numbers that are on the VAST website, but that's not the intention of them. It's not for civilian use. It's just for law enforcement use. I've got a draft letter that clubs can throw their letterhead on or copy paste, whatever they want to do, that would be sent to the dispatch center to notify them of the information that is going to be in the system and available for their use. Along with that would be I'm working on developing a PowerPoint presentation for specifically targeted towards dispatchers to train them on the things that our VAST map offers, the different layers of it, and how to find which club maintains a specific section of trail. Sometimes it'll lead to them having to find it on the map to get this information. Other times it might be, Billy Joe firefighter that says, oh, I think this is the drift dusters that maintain this. And then they tell their dispatcher and the dispatcher calls the number. So this is just kind of what dispatcher sees. You see in the background, the faded section, that's our quote dashboard. That's where all of our current calls are going on. And right there is the search box. So it's one click away. You click the search box. This dialog box would pop up here. And if you wanted to look up drift dusters, you just type drift. You don't even have to know the whole entire name spelling of the club. And this is what would pop up. These are what we call name cards. So basically everybody, if you've interacted with police in Vermont, you have a name card in this system. And again, it's private use. It doesn't get used for public knowledge or anything like that. And it can only be pulled up in the event of an emergency. So this is the Drift Dusters name card. It happens to be there's two other businesses with the similar name that starts with Drift that are there as well. The dispatcher would go over, click Drift Dusters Snowmobile Club. And by the way, there is a number here available. And then this is what would pop up, the Drift Dusters name card. So again, if you've interacted with state police or excuse me, if you've interacted with any police in the state, you have one of these with all of your information in it. With the clubs, it's just basic. You got club name, address, and you don't necessarily need an address for emergencies, but we need it to put it into the system. You can't put a name in without an address. So you'd have the address, primary phone over here, secondary phone. There's no spot for a third phone number. We could put it in probably right here, but I just put the towns covered in the email. And then down here is where the contact list would be populated. So say in the event that these phone numbers aren't working and they wanted to get some more information, or maybe contact the club next door, they could click that link right there, that PDF link, and this would pop up on their screen. The other thing I did was I didn't actually have to. VAST already had a name card because of some burglary alarm issues that Berlin police have dealt with. But so what I did was I added to the name, to the VAST name card, the Orleans County contacts list. And notice how it says specifically what county it is and what the date is. And then right here, it tells when it was uploaded. So we know like how outdated these lists are. So in theory, what I would do is I would, as if I got a Bennington County updated list or an Essex County contact list, I would upload it to this same name card. So if the dispatcher simply searched for VAST, they would still have the same information. In addition to that, I would create a name card for each club. So if they did know the club name, they could search by that and they would get some valuable information there as well. So in conclusion, this is just another tool in the toolbox for dispatchers. So we have a lot of tools at our discretion. Sometimes we use them all on a call. Sometimes we only use one of them. But if it's not there, we can't use it. And if we don't know who to contact, then you'll never be contacted. Clubs are not obligated to respond immediately, but should assist as soon as possible if needed. So for an example of this would be if a snowmobiler goes around a corner and there's a 36-inch maple across the trail and they hit it because of a windstorm. Obviously, the first call goes to 911. Fire department gets dispatched. EMS gets dispatched, possibly police, depending on the jurisdiction. Hopefully police. And then, at some point, the emergency responders are going to want to try to figure out, especially if it's a busy trail and they've got traffic backing up because people are coming from the local restaurant trying to get home that night. They're going to try to figure out how to deal with this tree. So if it's a small tree, the fire department would simply cut it up and move it out of the way, I would hope. But if it's something large that needs club intervention, and if the club can deal with it that night, great. Maybe they push it aside with the groomer. Maybe they come out with chainsaws, or maybe they don't even deal with it until the next morning. At least they know about it and they can close the trail. Sometimes it's as simple as making a social media post or just closing the trail on the interactive map and letting people know that this trail is closed. You don't need to tell them why, especially if there's some sort of critical incident going on. But the availability is there, and at least you know about it. As a club administrator myself, I would want to know these things. And we've been called in the past to deal with it, and it's just been through a series of 3 or 4 phone calls. It's finally made it to us. But if we could do something quicker, then that would be helpful. And I know for me personally, if somebody called me and if I was working in South Burlington, I've got a whole list of phone numbers that I can call to say, hey, who can go out and help move this tree or close this trail or ribbon this trail off or whatever. And that's it.
Carmen's got her hand up, Roger.
Yep, good.
Hey, Roger, can you send us that presentation you just did?
I can, yep. I'll
Well,
probably
the
have to
only
make,
reason the only reason I'm asking is because I know Lamoille County is looking to do, they actually have a space, some of the clubs have figured out a space for a helicopter landing, so I think that this would work like well for them, but obviously I'd like to send it to them. If you don't mind.
yeah, I need to go through and make sure there's no sensitive information on it. I'm pretty sure I filtered most of it out, but yeah, I mean,
That's
we
fine.
could. Let me just try to stop sharing here. There we go. The helicopter landing zone is a totally separate program though. So just so they know that this isn't really associated to that per se, but
Well, it's all emergency, so to me, it does kind of go, I mean.
yeah, no, it'd be great if they did both, but I'm just saying like there's obviously different steps to do the landing zone, and you can contact Stan or myself if you have any questions on those. So
Okay.
I'm not sure what Stan or Cindy's intention was other than just informational to the board, or if you're looking for the board to do something with this information. I don't know.
I think at this point, it's just informational. We plan on, putting together something to send out to clubs if they want to ask if people want to be put on this list. Again, this isn't, anything to be used against us if there is an accident. This is more of an informational, just to be able to get the information out to clubs, have a point of contact. They're not being asked to respond to any kind of accident or anything. It's just a way of, maybe it's a Saturday and the BAST office is closed and they don't have my cell phone, or Matt's not available, so they don't know who to contact to let the club know that there's a tree down or whatever. It's just an extra step there.
Well,
That's
to
all.
me, I think we're kind of asking the directors to go back to their counties and to share this and support this at the county level to get the club's participation. And again, it is optional, but it is I think, very worthy endeavor. And also, I would say that we probably, like you were talking about people calling you or calling the BAST office, whether it's during the week or whenever it is, the quickest way to get a tree removed or to get a trail ribboned off or something would be to contact the clubs directly. So getting to the as quickly as possible to the solution, this is what this program is going to help.
And I just want to reiterate too, that this is not in lieu of, a firefighter that happens to be involved with the local club. This is not a procedure that he has to go through. If he knows the direct number, great, so be it. This is just like, we're finding up here locally that we have a lot of people from out of the area that are now working for our EMS services and not so much firefighters, but and they don't know who the local clubs are. They wouldn't know Drift Dusters if, we showed them where it was. So it's just kind of like, all right, there's people out there, they don't know who to contact, especially like state troopers and stuff. They're all from out of state, out of the area. They, half the time they don't know, who the local clubs are or even what VAST is. So it's just important to make sure that the information's there if they need it. And part of that is making sure that the dispatchers know that this information is available to them. And that's where that letter comes in. Tim, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I was just kind of curious. I think it's a really good idea. I think it's great, actually. So my question is if they come across a report, they have a report, they go out and it's tree across. I don't know what the SOP is for that, but are they going to ribbon it? Are they going to do something, or are they just going to recover the body and truck it out of there? Are they going to put ribbons up so that anybody coming along next has a chance to avoid it, or, and I'm not trying to create extra work. I'm just asking what the SOP is for something like that.
My internet sucks, so I think you said if there's a tree across the trail and they need to do a body removal, how are we gonna deflect other
Well,
snowboarders?
Yes, are they gonna drag a ribbon across and hang it tree to tree so people understand that there's something serious ahead, or do they just recover the body and truck it out of there? And I know, I realize that sounds crude, but it's a reality.
Well, again, this program isn't intended for club representatives to have anything to do with body removal or.
No, not for that. But I meant for, are they gonna like cordon it off so that the next guy coming along doesn't hit the tree?
Yeah,
He's
definitely.
Yeah, he's
I
asking about law enforcement. Are you asking if law enforcement's gonna do that?
Well, I'm wondering where the intervention is to prevent the next accident before the club is able to address it. Are they going to put ribbons across so that people don't come flying around the corner and then run into the same tree? And I'm not looking to make extra steps, but how do you prevent the second one before the issue is remedied?
Well, it's not uncommon for, if there is a crash, local, whoever is there, whether they're friends, related, or just other snowmobilers, will usually stage back on the trail to slow people down and or tell them the trail's closed. But
Right.
yeah, when fire department gets there, they're usually quick to throw that kind of stuff up. In the event that we have an extended call where it is a death investigation, usually, state police will work with the fire department and or the local club to figure out the last junction, close it off, and go from there.
Yeah.
The last one I went to was, in the middle of the night, so it wasn't an issue. So I can't really speak to it. Unfortunately, most death investigations we do on the snowmobile trails happen at night and not during the day. So.
Right. Yeah.
I think we're not looking to add extra steps to what law enforcement does.
No.
We're actually just looking to address the fact that they might not always know who to contact if there is an issue. So what I foresee the issue more being that is, if the club is contacted, they need to go out and do whatever needs to be done to remedy this. So there needs to be commitment on that part, which they already do. I mean, I haven't run into a time at all when I've contacted a club and said, you got a tree down, or somebody called me and their stop signs down or whatever, and they go out and do this. This is just kind of a new set of points of contact. And I honestly, think that, could it be used against us if things aren't done? Like if we're warned and it's not fixed? Yes. So we need to make sure that if people are committing to, if there's a tree down, let's go out and fix it. Yes. So there's that level of commitment. But I also look at it in the way that it's protecting us, because once again, we are building another safety program.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's unprecedented. And this isn't just directed at you, Tim. This is just directed at everybody.
Yeah.
And so, is there, some questionability of somebody signs up and they need to go out and they don't do it and we get into trouble? Yeah, but I think that margin is much smaller than having people be contacted. If they know, they'll go. We know our guys. They go if you call them.
Yeah.
So
I think the people that are going to be on that list are people who are going to be responsive. And the sooner they know, the quicker they're made aware of a problem, the quicker they can address it. And that, from a liability standpoint for VAST, I think that's a positive thing.
So what I would say to for the directors that are bringing this back to their county, remember that we've got 40 safety ambassadors dispatched around this state. If you need a list of the safety ambassadors, and I'll send that to you anyway, not if you need it, I will send it to you, of all the safety ambassadors for each county, because they will be folks that you could add to this list. So it might not just be the president of the club or the director. It might be a safety ambassador, and we've got them statewide. So I'll make sure you guys have the updated list. I'm still collecting, who's coming back this year, but pretty much 90% are coming back this year. And I can get that, because they will be people that I'm sure that you could put on this list.
I think it's a fantastic program, Roger. I think it's awesome. I was just kind of questioning how they were gonna protect the scene so that it didn't happen again until somebody tagged in or whatever. If it's serious,
Mhm.
I think it'll be covered.
I think it's going to be, if this list gets used, it's going to be late into the incident. So there's not going to be anything to worry about, and it's everything is done with common sense and, thinking about it with reason. If they call you and you're in Florida on vacation, there is no reason why you need to go to the scene, right? If there's
Right.
somebody you can call, great. If not, but this is going to be well into the scene being stabilized. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not your job as clubs to stabilize the incident.
Yep. No, I think it's great. Anybody have any other questions for Roger?
Roger, have you made me host again?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
All right,
And I have
thank
no
you,
more
Roger.
questions.
All right, next up, water crossing update, Jeff, Matt, and Long Range Planning Committee.
So I guess I go first.
Your name was first on the list.
Yeah, it was. So we got together, several times and kicked this around a little bit. So we've developed, at the Trails Committee meeting last Monday night, we discussed it with them and came up with some policies about the terminus trails that at one time led to water crossings. It is essentially official now that Vast has no more water crossings. The Vast Trail ends prior to the water, and any travel beyond that end of trail is the rider's own risk. So basically the policy is that the appropriate signage will be in place by December 1st, and proof of that signage in place will be forwarded to Trails Administrator by December 1st. If signage is not in place after December 1st, the first step will be withholding of the startup payment for that particular club. And if the signage does not appear shortly thereafter, club TMA funds will be withheld until the appropriate signage is in place and verification sent to the Trails Administrator. And beyond that, if it's not up by December 15th, the next step, which isn't in the policy, but is closure of the trail at the nearest junction. So, and there will be separate agreements with each club that has the special signage, and they will be signing the agreement that states the new policy, so they're well aware of it. There won't be multiple emails asking them to put the signage up. By signing the agreement, they know what the consequences are and what the timeline is. So there won't, that will be the paper trail, as is the agreement. So that's basically the gist of it. In your board packet, there is the wording on the last sign that says Vast Trail ends here. No ice is safe ice. Riders assume all risk and liability beyond this point. And there will be dead end trail signs, not necessarily exactly halfway down the trail, but a distance down the trail to let the rider know that the trail is dead end. And there will be dead end signage at the junction as well. Whether that be an update to the aluminum signage or an addition to whatever else is used at the junction.
And I'm developing the agreement /contract, and I should have that done by tomorrow or the next day. for some folks to review, and then we'll be sending it out to the clubs.
And I think each contract, Cindy, will have the trail location and specifics for each location.
Yeah.
Because there may be some that aren't necessarily cookie cutter.
Mhm.
Matt, was it 8 or 9 clubs involved, I think is what we came up with.
Yeah,
said-
I was actually just looking at the list. I think there's just like roughly signage wise, there's, let's see, 7. This is roughly what I have. I have 2 at Star Lake either side, 5 at Memphis Magog, 3 in Island Pond, 1 at Putnam Station on Lake Champlain, which is the East Trail, 3 locations near Dunmore, possibly 1 by Harriman Reservoir, the 1 at Seymour Lake at the parking lot, 1 at St. Albans Bay, and then Mallett's Creek. I don't know what we're doing with that yet. That's, I guess, still up in the air some, but that's what I have for locations.
I think Mallett's Creek ends at the development.
Would agree. I haven't heard from them any different.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we'll get all this stuff. Like I said, I worked on it some today. I'll hopefully finish it up tomorrow and get it out to Jeff and Matt for review, and then be sending it on to the clubs.
Mike, I see you've got your hand up. Mike Burns.
You hear me okay?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, okay. I just, I mean, I know this is, well, I'm not sure, but it's probably going to be received negatively from some of my clubs at least. And I did, when I kind of took the shot across the bow and told them it was coming, they did have a couple of good questions. One of them, they kind of hit me with our own rules. We're kind of introducing this, and it has punitive consequences. We're introducing this in the 11th hour. The question is where in our bylaws do we say where we can change the rules for money midstream?
I don't know that we have it in our bylaws anywheres, but in the past, we've put policies in place that have had deadlines on them, and there's been no consequences, and there's been no results from the clubs. So this is a new policy.
That's part of what I'll get slammed with is vast changes and doesn't follow their own rules. So that's exactly part of what the feedback I will get.
Well, there are policies. There are policies in place where there are restrictions on if a club doesn't do something, there could be financial consequences. Those are already existing in our policy. So I guess what you're saying is maybe Jeff, you do need a vote then, because the Trails Committee has already passed this, right? They voted on it. So maybe the board needs to vote on it. This isn't new and coming. We've been talking about it for 6 years. And we had issues last year and the year before with a couple of clubs that weren't sending the required information that's in policy.
They were compliance issues.
Right.
Yep.
This is just, these rules are already made, and the lack of clubs complying has forced Vast hand to the next level. And so here we are with the Trails Committee having to enforce it.
And I'm fine with the board voting on this tonight. If they choose.
I'm not asking for a board vote or anything like that. I'm just telling where I'm preempting where I'm going to have to discussion I'm going to have.
And the fact that it is, what is it? October 25th.
Yeah.
And we're talking a deadline of December 1st. So that to me is 30 plus days that they can get this stuff done. We're in the process of getting signs produced. So, yep, it'll take us a little bit of time to get the signs out to these guys. A lot of clubs it's like I say, it's 8 or 9 clubs that we're dealing with. We're talking maybe a half a dozen signs. So I don't see what the big issue would be. The other option is we'll just close the trail. So it's time to play hardball. Yep, we're all volunteers. We've all got day jobs. But this is stuff that going forward, insurance is going to be in our lap, and this is going to be the start of it. So
I also think that the clubs that are involved haven't had a problem with it. So they've agreed that signing an agreement, taking the pictures, doing all that, because we're basically, the trail is still going down to the water. We're just saying the trail ends here. That we don't cross the water. So we've worked with these clubs before, and we know, we're telling people this is a dead end trail. It's only, whatever. So I'm not quite sure why Franklin County would be concerned. I mean, the issue is that we had a couple of clubs that we required pictures of their signs. That's in policy right now. And it is a structured policy, and we didn't get them. And some of those were very crucial crossings on large bodies of water, and those signs didn't go up to almost February last year and the year before. That can't happen. So there has to be some kind of consequence, or at least carrot and stick to make sure it gets done.
North Country Mountaineers had a question.
Yes, I totally agree with what you folks are saying. And all we want from you is the proper sign to put on these lake crossings so everybody understands we're following exactly what's happening.
What you want.
That's exactly, and we understand everything, and we are, I guess we're probably the first club that you should be concerned about because we got quite a few lake crossings.
Well, you're not the first, but you're one of them. And but it's important for these other folks that have not been engaged in the conversations we've had with you or had with other clubs, that they're all on board with this. They understand it. They know the importance of it. We've done a lot of negotiating over the last couple of years to try to get to this point. And
But we're not, we understand you, Cindy, is saying this, that we are not producing a sign to say the end of the trail. You are producing those signs that are going to be going up, right?
That's correct. And we're going to be supplying those to you at no cost. We're producing them. We're going to get them to you, and there's no cost to the club. We just ask you to please get them up, take a picture, and send it to us when they're up.
That we will do for you.
And we're going to ask that the current signs that you have with the alternate land routes,
I got you, Roger,
be returned to VAST. Those will no longer be used.
Alternate land routes?
Wait, Jack, clear that out for me.
You know the sign that says, where we had it at the junction before you got there, and it would show if you go this way, you're crossing water, and here's the land route around. We're gonna request those signs back. We don't want those signs up. So
You have that much room there?
Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll either come collect them. We'll figure it out. You can turn them in to Roger, and we can collect them from him, or we'll figure out how we're going to get those back. But we just don't want those up because these are going to be new signs we're putting out.
They're not going. Yeah. Okay.
Roger.
Good.
Roger.
Yeah, I appreciate Mike's, comment, and I understand where he's coming from as a club that is going to put up probably close to half a dozen of these. I'm in full support of it. We've never had an issue before in the past. At least our club hasn't. Most clubs in Orleans County are pretty compliant when it comes to it because it means a lot that we're, everybody knows we've been pretty vocal about fighting to keep these things available. So, we appreciate that this is kind of where we're headed. And I think it is not unreasonable at all to make sure that this happens. So thank you. The other question I had was the we had talked in the past about trying to pull the vast trail ends here, like a long ways away from the edge of the water. Where are we going with that as far as, is there going to be a required distance? What's the rules on that?
Nope, that's a good question. You just have to make enough room for a turnaround before you get to the water's edge.
Okay.
So
that's-
groomer can turn around and the sleds can turn around. And then you're gonna have another sign right there, vast trail ends here, and there'll be some liability information on that sign. But the lawyer said that that's, as long as you make it so people can safely turn around and go back and have that specific sign that will provide for you guys.
Awesome. Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Jeff?
Yeah, I just wanted to maybe ask Jim. This is policy, and I do believe it requires a board vote. Am I correct or wrong?
I would feel better with a board vote, so there is a record of it.
Yes, if you're gonna do that kind of policy, as much as that changes in the policy, I think the board has to approve the policy.
Yep. Nope, that's fine. Can I get a motion in a second?
Washington County moves to approve the recommended ice crossing policy change.
Second.
Wyndham County will second it.
Thanks, Ivor. Any further discussion on the ice crossing changes for policy? Here none, we'll take it to a vote. All those in favor of the approving the changes to the ice crossing policy, say aye.
Aye.
Those against, nay? Motion carries. Thank you, Jeff.
Yep.
All right, you're up again. Jeff Fay, landowner issues.
All right. I don't know if anybody's got access to their email or not while this is going on, but I did send, just before the meeting started, a forwarded email that I had received this afternoon from Wendy Fahan down in Pulteney. She had been contacted by a member of the Pulteney Club, Tim Loomis, on October 15th and granted permission to have the trail go across her property. And on October 23rd, she saw some men working on her property, and before she could get to them, they had cut down a butternut tree and raspberry bushes and some bee balm, and had mowed an 11-foot wide, brush hogged an 11-foot wide path down her paddock. Unfortunately, the butternut tree was, I think she said it was like 23 feet tall or something.
22.
22. Okay. Yep. There it is. I knew it was in here somewhere. And that she had been told by an arborist that the butternut tree is becoming quite rare in the wild. So she was devastated that she had lost her butternut tree, and her raspberries and her bee balm, and has since revoked, obviously, her permission to use the property, and is seeking reparations by she's asking for an 8-foot butternut seedling, 6 raspberry bushes, and 6 bee balm flowers to be replaced. So obviously that will be taken care of. By who will be the question, but what I see this brings to light is clubs getting permission and then kind of doing whatever they want without consulting or letting the landowner know that they are on the property. I think it's pretty much common courtesy that if you're using someone's property, that you consult them before you do any major pruning or cutting or mowing. And evidently this did not occur, from the email that she sent. I know this is your neck of the woods, Kurt.
Yep.
Rutland County. And I did forward this to Tim Park as well.
Right, and we have a meeting coming up on Wednesday night, and we will discuss it. The county, if the club can't afford to do what they need to do on their own, which I personally feel they should be responsible for, the county will step in and make sure that the tree is covered, the bushes are covered, and help her out in any way, shape, or form that we can. I've seen this before, local, level before, with one person getting permission for the access, the use of the trail, and not showing up to that person's property, where you're going to do the work, having a crew go in there without it being properly laid out. It's just foolishness. It should never happen. It should never happen. If I walk Tim's property with Tim and he tells me this is what we can do, you should have stakes with you, you should have spray paint with you, you should mark what shouldn't be cut, or just mark what should be cut. It's absolutely ridiculous that this happened. I feel very bad for the landowners. I feel bad for the rest of the club that plays by the rules. It's I don't know how hard it's going to be for them to work around this, but it's very unfortunate that we're losing a trail before the season even starts because of stupidity.
Yeah, and not only that this landowner obviously has neighbors, and a bad experience.
That was my first concern when I read that. That was my first concern. Was for the neighbors around, because let me tell you, that can upset a lot of people. It can set up a chain reaction with just because of lack of just lack of common sense and approach. So
they say a bad experience spreads faster than a good experience. So
absolutely.
So basically, I just wanted to use this as a reminder to your clubs to consult the landowner before doing anything major or even minor for that matter. Let them know that you're there.
Absolutely.
Carmen?
Well, I mean, I read this and obviously I have to agree with you, Kurt. I think that this should be the club's responsibility to replace what she's asking. And I think that the club or whomever was responsible for this should be the ones going back out there and replanting this.
Absolutely.
The stuff, the flowers and the tree and the bushes. And I think it sucks. And to me, we don't have trails if it's not for our landowners. So to me, that's just a total lack of disrespect. And I get it. It's hunting season and everybody's trying to get trail work done, and everybody's got stuff going on, but it sucks.
That has nothing to do with anything. It's still in the end, it comes down to being a good steward of the land, and you need to make sure you don't make any assumptions of what you can do with somebody else's piece of property. Period. It should be laid out. It should be. I was our trail coordinator, for our club for a long time in Mount Holly. And I spent a lot of time walking in those woods with people, and I did it to make sure that we didn't outstep our bounds. And I saw the damage that was caused by a forester that wasn't a forestry project that wasn't properly managed, and the forester wasn't coming in and checking up. He went on to a neighboring piece of property and took out over 200 trees. And these aren't small trees. These are big trees. These are trees the size of your freaking Subaru. Okay. It should never happen. It just should never happen. Especially on our level at this point in time. If you've got new people that are volunteering, somebody with experience needs to get out there, introduce them to their landowners, and make sure they know where they're going. It should never happen. And it's unfortunate. And I feel bad for these folks.
And it's just a common courtesy to touch base with their landowner when you're going to be on their property too.
Absolutely.
I'll
let you know how it pans out. Okay.
Okay. I've sent her an email to let her know that we'd get it handled, and I think I looped you and Tim in on that as well.
Yeah,
so, I think so.
You did. Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
thank you, Jeff.
No, thank you, and just respect your landowners. I know we all do, but it just takes one incident like this to to start the season off in a really bad foot.
Yeah, I mean, you just don't want to have, if there's any question marks in your head when you're out there coming into anybody's property, ask somebody. Just ask the question. The only stupid question, as far as I'm concerned, is the one that isn't asked.
Yep.
So.
I do think a lot of communication gets lost too between the person that's getting the landowner permission and the crew that goes out to do the work. And
understood.
It's very easy to have happen, but it's hard to overcome, but easy to point fingers too.
Yep.
Tough situation, and sorry to hear that it happened. You guys will work your way around it. Unfortunately, it is what it is.
Well, I'll let you know how it pans out, guys.
Stan, you got a question, comment?
Well, yeah, the only thing I was going to add is I know I saw on the email that she wanted an 8-foot sapling planted. I don't know if there could be an effort made to transplant a larger tree just to try to get her back closer to what she had before the incident. I mean, I don't think you're going to be able to get a 20-footer in there, but you may be able to do better than just an 8-foot tree.
We'll see what we can do, Stan. The county will back whatever needs to be done.
Is it the right
Thanks,
time of year to be replanting stuff?
Probably not, Pat.
And that's the other thing is that, it may take some time to get this done. Coming into the cold season, I know it's not the time to replant.
No, it is not. Springtime's the ideal time.
Yeah.
So, but if we can get something lined up, get everything hammered out, we'll figure it out.
Yep. Thanks for keeping it.
Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yep.
Trails Administrator, ED report, LVRT report. Is there anything anybody had any questions on for the supplied reports? All right. If not, we'll move on to committee and other meeting reports. Northeast Chapter, Pat and Jeff.
We've got a meeting Thursday night. We're just our normal fall meeting. We are actually Vast is going to host the spring ride this year in Island Pond. I've gotten 2 definites from, well, actually 2 couples from Maine are a definite, if they can get the time off at least. So they were excited to come visit Island Pond in February. So Cindy's in the process of putting that together.
What weekend are we what the dates you're looking at, Jeff?
24th through the 27th of February. Am I right, Cindy?
Yeah, so I'll be sending out, yes, you're correct on the dates. I will be sending out an email late, in a month or so regarding the dates in case there's board members that want to join in. We're going to be renting a few houses up there. Part of it's we're covering and part of it the Northeast Chapter. Well, everybody pays for their own lodging, but I've rented 3 houses so far, and I'm probably going to rent some motel rooms at the motel there. And then, there's dinners and stuff like that. And there's a couple of days of riding, and then we have 1 day of meetings. But I'll definitely let the board know. So if board members want to come and join us at meals or on rides, right now, traditionally, it's myself, Jeff, Pat, Jim, who usually goes, Matt, who usually goes. But because Vermont's hosting it, we'll certainly let you guys know if you would like to join us. Again, it's February 24th, which is, I think, a Thursday. But we're going to probably be going in on that Wednesday night, and then we ride Thursday, Friday, and then we have a full day meeting on Saturday, and then maybe ride a little bit on Sunday morning. We also might, we were supposed to host this meeting last year, and New Hampshire talked about getting us passes, so there might be some riding in New Hampshire as well during that time.
I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit more on Thursday.
I've got about 11 people signed up, 11 to 13 people right now.
Yep.
Oh, sounds good. If anybody has any questions, get a hold of Cindy or Jeff. Vermont Snow Trails Conservancy, Jim?
Nothing new.
All right, thank you. Law enforcement, Gary Nolan, do you know anything, Cindy?
Yeah, we have a meeting coming up in November with different law enforcement agencies. We're asking them to come in on Zoom and meet with us, specifically the sheriffs, although we've invited all the agencies just to kind of go over what our expectations are this year. Beth has also built a new app for law enforcement to have on their phone. So they're going to actually be able to now go in and look up people's records. So when they're doing a safety check, it's going to be an app that lets them click off all the stuff that's on the safety, the pad checklist, as well as see if people are current with their information. So we're going to be, showing them that app. And it's not mandatory that they use it. They can still use the books and the frozen pens if that's what they decide to do. But if they'd like to be able to use a cell phone and an app, we're offering them that. And I think that's all I have.
Carmen, you had a question?
Cindy, I just didn't, and I'm sorry, I just thought of it now, and I don't even know if it goes under this. Did the letters and the information go out to the new clubs that we're looking to kind of get set up as new patrol?
Are you talking about the agencies? You
No,
said clubs.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry, the agencies. Yes, I think I did call them clubs. Sorry.
Yeah. So there's two new agencies. There's Orleans County Sheriffs, which are just going to be doing patrol cars. And then there's the Morrisville Police Department. Both Morrisville, I've gotten their contract back and signed. They also just won a grant. They've already bought a trailer and they're in the process of buying 2 snowmobiles. So they're all set with their contract for the year. Newport, just need to get them, because at first they were going to buy equipment. Now they've decided not to. So I need to get them a new agreement with half the amount that we usually pay, because they're just going to be doing cruiser patrols. But I'm in touch with the sheriff up there and everything's good.
All right. Any other questions for Cindy on this? All right. Thank you, Cindy. LVRT, Ken, anything you'd like to throw out there tonight?
Sorry, trouble unmuting. No, I don't have anything to add that wasn't in my report there. They've actually started working, so that's good news, but only one of the 4 projects is active. So we'll see if they get it all done by the end of next year or not.
Actually, Ken, I have something for you. That was actually kind of brought to my attention. Some of the plywood that was put down, that you put down here in Lamoille County, with some of the clubs that were helping you guys, some of it's actually already warped.
Well,
Yeah, that's inevitable. It's really a bad solution, but it was a quick, cheap thing to do so people wouldn't fall through the bridges. So
well,
it's just a Band-Aid.
Well, and I get that, but part of the concern is that some of the bridges that are done, it's warped bad enough that there's some concern about now the safety of the of what the fix that was done, maybe not as safe as maybe whatever the plan was, so to speak, to move forward. So I'm just expressing concern that, maybe we might make sure that those are, we're good to go for the winter season, that those aren't gonna be more hazardous, or well, you know what I mean. Like we don't need a problem.
I will just say that I gave them enough screws to properly screw those decks down, and they only used half of them. So if you're not putting enough screws in, the stuff's going to warp up. And if you're not making sure, those are 5-inch screws. So they were in there to go down through the current decking and into the bracing below. And the bracing below runs this way, and it's only 4 inches apart. So as long as you're going through that decking and hitting the bracing, it should be stuck in there, but you need to use all the screws. So that might be, and I did mention it because I was out there the day that Morrisville did theirs, and they only used half the screws. And I said, well, you guys, you're going to keep an eye on this, right? And come back and put more screws in if needed. And they said they would.
And I have also added more screws. I can go back and check again, but it's going to warp no matter what we do.
I'm just saying it was just brought to my attention. That's why I'm bringing it up because obviously we want everything to be, safe. So.
Yeah, I would just say that it just needs more screws. I don't know that anyone's at fault, but we gave them a lot of screws and they just need to be put in. And if they don't have time, then they need to just let us know and we'll find some folks to go out there and put more in.
And plywood should be fastened no more than 4 inches from each corner. Just because it will curl if it's too far from the corners.
Right, and we actually did the math that the screws were going to be 4 to 6 inches apart. So we had them very close. It wasn't just like 3 across. It was like 6 to 8 across. It was very close when we were figuring out how many screws they would need.
Right. Well, right. And all the people that I know that were working in Lamoille County were either working with you or they were working with Ken. So on both those projects. So I'm just saying it was something that was brought. I'm not trying to cause problems. I'm just saying it was something that was just brought to my attention, and I just wanted to bring it to your attention.
Carmen, I appreciate that. I would just tell them they have all those screws. So if they're concerned about the warping,
go load them up.
All right. Awards and nominating, Patty.
Hi, this is Patty. Can you hear me, Tim?
Yep.
Oh, good. Okay. I'm on my cell phone now. Okay. Just that, obviously the annual meeting, the acknowledgement of the award recipients, that was completed. And just as a reminder, Volunteers at Work is an extension of that to celebrate our volunteers all year long for the VAST magazine. If you have any, continue, to collect photos and some descriptions with that, trying to spread the acknowledgement throughout the state.
Any questions for Patty on that? All right. Thank you, Patty. Bylaws and policy, Jeff.
Nothing.
All right. Annual meeting, Pat and Jeff. No, wait a minute. It's not Pat and Jeff. Who is it next?
It's Essex County, and I won't put John on the spot. We actually just had a meeting right before this meeting. So Essex County is hosting next year, and I'll make a change on the agenda. And we met with 4 folks from the county, and they're starting to make plans, and there's more to come. And they know to get in touch if they have questions. And Chittenden County shared, what they did this year, and it was a good meeting. It was right before this meeting tonight.
Nice. Thank you. Executive committee. There's nothing going on there. Financial, Patty, is there any other questions for Patty on the finances?
I just took from a committee perspective, just to let folks know that Cindy and I started the audit process. The 8 clubs have all been notified. They've been in contact with the CPA. They've received their notification letters. We've also had one of our 2 Zoom meetings to talk with them in case they had any questions. It went very well. We have another one scheduled in November, and we're updating that audit presentation based on the questions and answers we're getting from the clubs and the CPA.
Awesome. Thank you, Patty. Long range planning and organization. Mark, anything you want to add tonight?
No, not tonight.
All right. Resource committee, Ivor.
We're the resource committee is scheduled to meet with the long range committee November 2nd. So after that meeting, we should have something put together.
All right. Thank you.
So, well, wait, so is that something that we will see at the November meeting then, Ivor?
Hopefully. I know Perry's waiting for some information that's been slow to come from different manufacturers, and so yeah, hopefully that'll be part of it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Any other questions for Ivor on the resource committee? I know it's a topic of concern.
I just always get asked
All right.
for my county, so that's why I was asking.
Yep. Personnel, Jeff.
Nothing on personnel.
All right, trails. Anything you want to add?
No, but the next Trails Committee meeting is January, I knew I was gonna forget it.
18th?
17th.
It's Martin Luther King Day.
Yes, yep, that's it. That's why we chose it.
You know, not everybody has to wear
What is the
that.
date?
I couldn't remember the date. I just knew it fell on Martin Luther King Day.
January 17th.
January 17th.
Thank you, Chairman.
Hey, thanks, Jeff. Trails, anything you want to add, Jeff?
No, not really. I'm sure everybody's out getting stuff cleaned up as best they can before real snow flies, but yeah. Anybody has concerns, you know, get in touch with your trails coordinators and me, if nothing else.
Yep. Perfect, thanks. Safety, Stan?
Yeah, so we did meet this month. We're back on our regular cadence. We'll meet every month through the winter. Roger already discussed the contact list. That's kind of our priority right now. We're also working on a couple of new signs that we're going to make available that are focused on safe and prudent riding and SWI. We just want to kind of put that in the forefront of people's minds. The idea is to place them at parking areas and at major intersections, just to reinforce the idea that there are consequences for unsafe riding, and again, riding under the influence. And then we're also we're planning on putting together maybe 4, 5, or 6 short videos, 30 to 60-second videos, all based on safety, whether it's hands-on or staying on the trail, SWI, those kind of topics that we're going to look to do this winter when there's snow on the ground and we can do it outdoors and make it an interesting looking video. And that's
Nice.
really it.
Any questions for Stan on the safety?
There's already the zero tolerance program that Access put together, so there's should already be signage available through that. I don't know if there's any reason to reinvent the wheel for that part of it.
Yeah, Pat shared that one with us. We did discuss that one as well.
Okay.
We could pull that right off their website.
Yep.
Nice. All right, thanks, Stan. Governor's Council, Pat. You're muted, Pat.
The council has been meeting regularly as we do in the fall and winter. There is some discussion about law enforcement funding. We considerably overspent the budget last year. We had to dip into reserves. There was some discussion about a $2 increase to snowmobile registrations dedicated to law enforcement, but the governor won't support that. So there's other monies that may be federally available through the state. So we're looking into that.
Do we have, Pat, do we have the report on what they did last year? What we had for law enforcement?
We have, I believe we do, don't we, Matt?
You mean what they spent?
Well, I for one I didn't see any more law enforcement than I ever did. So overspending the budget, I just want to see, did it result in more tickets or warnings or anything, any of their measurables?
Okay.
Yeah, it did. I still am. I need to finish up a few things on that report. It's not bad. It's me.
Okay. I just didn't know if it resulted, if we could see a correlation between the spend and measurables that we have for them.
Well, they were out there more. Our concerns are that they're not turning warnings into tickets after a certain time period. So, you know, when they bring in $12,000 worth of violations and it costs us $120,000, there's something wrong with that.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah. So we are in discussions with them about that, you know, and, you know, So yes, so we are working on that. That is part of the conversation that we're having with them. I mean, we do want to grow our police force, but we want to have it by, if it's January 15th and there's somebody out there with a sled that's not registered, what if they were driving a car? To me, it's a motor vehicle thing, just like it would be driving a car. You wouldn't just give them a warning if they're driving an unregistered vehicle. If it's not inspected, that's a little bit different. They do give warnings. But anyway, so one of the things we're doing is the law enforcement committee is looking at setting dates to bring in front of the governor's council to vote on, this is when our expectation is that you would not do a warning. But a lot of it is left open to their own, interpretation or their own decision. They catch a guy that's like, he's got 4 things wrong. All of a sudden he's got $2,500 worth of tickets. And they're like, well, okay, well, I'm just going to give you the warnings for these and just give you a ticket for one of them. So now you only owe 500. But
Yeah, I just don't, I can't buy into that really because, and dates as well. December 15th or 16th, once the season opens, why you wouldn't be registered and ready to go with a TMA? Everything's so easy to do. I mean, I understand that the state has some challenges with their motor vehicle department, but like you did last year, if you've got a document that shows that you have an appointment, you're issuing TMAs. So on December 17th, and they're out riding, and they have their document that says, yeah, we have an appointment to get our registration done at DMV on January 2nd, and I have my TMA, and here's my insurance card, because you don't need to be registered to get your insurance. I mean, I think those people know what they're out there doing it, and they know that they're trying to get away with something. I really believe that.
Yep.
And I also
Yep.
think that there's if you look at the different agencies involved, there are certain agencies that tend to write more tickets and some that tend to be more lenient.
yeah, well, the amount of sorry, Pat, go ahead.
When they've got a big bucket of tickets and the guy that doesn't register, he doesn't buy TMAs and he doesn't get insurance, and so he's going to end up with that $2,500 accrued ticket, and they're going to throw it out of court because it's ridiculous to pay $2,500 to go snowmobiling in a judge's point of view, not ours, obviously. But so that's why they will give a warning on one and write one ticket. Officer discretion is big with those guys. So I don't know that we will ever be able to force them into a date time frame, but they're going to hear it over and over again. They're going to get sick of hearing it. Maybe we forget to pay the bill once in a while. I don't know.
If you get caught deer hunting on the second day of deer season without a license, do they let them go?
No, they'll take the gun, the car, and your shoes.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it's really up to us and how much we're willing to fight it or educate judges too. Because you're talking about people out there, if they don't have a registered sled and they don't have a TMA, they're not insured.
Right.
So then they're a liability to everybody else too. So
Yes.
we are educating them, but they've been in their little box for many years, allowed to do it the way that we expressed. All we wanted them to do was safety checks. That was it years ago. So we are slowly trying to change them. But last year, the folks that spent the most money were state police and Fish and Wildlife. It wasn't the sheriffs and the PDs that went over. It was state police by quite a bit.
So I guess that's what went back to me using measurables, because there's more than just writing tickets as a way to measure,
Right.
But
We have that data.
that's what I want. And then we got to figure out, is it worth it to us? Well, we have no choice, but you know what I mean?
Right. The reason the state police went so far over last year is that their auxiliary program is staffed less than 50% from what it used to be. So if we relied only on auxiliaries, we would have very few state police out there. So what they did is they put a task force together last year of full-time troopers that were willing to go out and ride snowmobiles. And that was great. They had about 24 troopers come up, and it was a really good staffing move. The problem is they're all at double time or time and a half.
Mm-hmm.
So it blew the budget big time.
It's the only
So
question. I have.
basically, law enforcement is still a work in progress for law enforcement, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Trying
and
to get everything you want for what you're for.
yeah, it will be for a while. We've been starting to slowly really make some changes to starting about 2 years ago. You know, we're in a good place. We're still making those changes and all that, but it's, you know, it's going to take a while.
And we have a lot of new members on the council too. The Fish and Wildlife rep is new. The Forest Parks and Rec rep is new. So we're gonna have a brand new fish and game commissioner. So there's a lot of changes coming.
Any other questions for Pat on the Governor's Council?
Yeah, I have something. I'm not
Go ahead,
positive
Stan.
it's governor's council or not, but there's been some noise since the announcement about the free weekend requiring pre-registration. And I know that the intention there was to do that so that people are essentially under the TMA guidelines so that insurance is covered. And I just think that there needs to be a little bit of an explanation, just so people understand it. I mean, I'm all for it. I think we should be doing that. And it's just that I don't think people understand why there's a requirement to pre-register.
Yeah, well, we can explain it. We can, you know, we'll continue to put it out in the e-blast and stuff like that, but it's basically so people are signing the waiver.
Yeah, I totally understand. I support it 100%.
Yeah, it was brought up a few years ago because Quebec's been doing it for a while. I think Jim Hill was the one who first brought it to our attention. And now that we're completely online, we're in a place where we can actually do this.
And I think Roger explained it. He answered one person's rants and complaints, and Roger explained it pretty well as to why it's being done. But I just think it needs to be a little broader.
Yeah.
Are we starting that this year?
Yeah, we'll continue to put it out there. Yep. They're going to be able to register right online after December 1st.
I just wish I'd known before I went to 2 snowmobile shows and talked to a whole bunch of people about the free weekend.
Well, we only just decided it, you know, and so, sorry.
Well, but honestly, I've spoken to close to 1,000 people over the last few weeks about the free weekend. Talking it up, people interested. If I had known that, I could have added that in.
Well, okay. It was in the e-blast I sent a few weeks ago. So I'm sorry that I didn't get you the information. I should have had it print out for you guys.
Wasn't it on that flyer that you did for the shows?
It might have been. I know it's in the Vast magazine, and I know I put it in an e-blast.
I thought it was on the flyer in the red print.
Yeah, I think
I
it
know
actually.
none
I
of
do
the
think
people
it
that I
did say.
worked with mentioned it either. So I didn't think anyone knows. It was first I remember hearing of it.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I think it was in the red print on the
I'll try
flyer.
to fill you in next time. That's like the break room around the corner and at the main show, there's snacks and sodas in there.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the deal. Nobody's going to get a ticket. Nobody's getting a ticket. This isn't a law, but I would rather it not be like out there that you don't have to do this. I would prefer that people do this because then they will be covered. So we'll do our best to get the word out. And
I get that, and I'm fine with it. I'm just saying that would be something to add when you say to people, all you need to ride in Vermont on the free weekend is a registration from any state and liability insurance. Well, not really, but if I could have added that, it would have helped. That's all I'm saying, and I wish I had known. And some of it is on me for not obviously reading the e-blast, but I didn't realize that it was going to be part of it.
I think in the next 4 months, it'll be pretty well out there that it's a minor requirement that you can do off your cell phone, sitting on the couch, or sitting on your sled before you take off. I don't know that it's that big of a issue.
Uh-oh.
See, right there in the red print. That's what I thought.
It wasn't in the first ones down in New Hampshire where it was crossed off with the wrong dates.
Oh,
Yes,
it was. It's been on every single one.
Because the only thing that got changed was the February became an MAR. Yep, I
No,
knew.
MAR became February.
Yeah, that's true. Yes, that's what I said, right?
Yeah, that was in New York.
So
Again, I just wish someone had told me, hey, when you're saying this, remember that.
So there
That's all.
were several hundreds, if not 1,000 of those sheets handed out in the last 3 shows. So the information's out there. We'll, as Cindy said, we'll keep, throwing it out there. We've got at least 1 or 2 magazines prior to the February coming up. So
And go to people who don't take advantage of free weekend because they're members.
What?
Yeah. Okay.
The magazines that'll be in going to people who are already members. They
Yeah.
don't
Right,
take advantage of free weekend.
Right,
But-
but it's been on the flyers, like Jeff said, that's been passed out to everybody, and we'll be putting them in the e-blasts. And it was already shared by New Hampshire. That's how most people have been getting it.
And you put it on Facebook, right? Which is where a lot of
Yeah.
people are getting it.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wish someone had told me or at least corrected me while I was saying it to many people.
I apologize, Mark. It's my fault. Sorry. But speaking of shows, Syracuse was very well attended, as was the Grass Drags. We had, on our raffle drawing, I think we had over 200 from Saturday at the Grass Drags. Maine was fairly typical Maine show. Not real busy, but busy enough to keep us on our toes. So, and we've got the MASH show coming up the weekend before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So,
And the Big E was busy. I worked a few days in the information booth in the Vermont building to represent VAST. And, they had 1.5 million people through the fair, and obviously 1.5 million snowmobilers. But we did get quite a few questions. We went through actually more literature. We ran out of literature. So there was a lot of interest from people who were snowmobilers who hadn't been to Vermont in either a long time or had never been to Vermont. And these were people from like Pennsylvania and New York, Connecticut, New Jersey.
What'd you got? You got your ducky?
the a lot of the people we talked to from out in Syracuse, they're looking for something different other than Tug Hill and Old Forge. So they're, the feeling I got is we're going to get some interest. The 3-day pass actually was fairly popular with people coming, and we were, suggesting that they tag it on one end or the other to the free weekend. So 6 days for the outlay of $80, plus obviously the lodging, et cetera, but pretty good deal for riding 6 days in Vermont.
One thing good about New York and Maine have both increased their fees by quite a bit, which is going to puts us in a better light price-wise.
Does.
I agree, Jim. Stick and stay and make it pay. All right. Is there any other business to come before the board of directors tonight?
Yeah, I have one question I'd like to ask. What is the policy in regards for clubs to have landowner permission, written or verbal? Is there a hard, fast rule that everything has to be written?
No.
Or do we accept both?
The old rule, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, was if somebody refused to sign a landowner permission, but they agreed for you to be on their land, you needed 2 snowmobile club representatives from that club that the landowner is related to it witness him agreeing for you to ride on the property, but didn't have to sign. And then you could fill one out with those two gentlemen or ladies signing that permission form.
Yes, noting that it was a verbal agreement.
Exactly. Not sure if it's changed, Jeff. It hasn't or has?
Not officially that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I believe that is still an acceptable practice. Matt, can you correct me if I'm wrong? Or not?
That's how I've sort of understood it or always gone with is, yeah, if you have it, just write down the name and say you got verbal. I think that's legitimate. I don't know. I mean, legality wise, I don't know. It probably wouldn't really matter at that point, but I think
that was a rule for years. So we based our landowner permissions off from that without willingly signing.
I have a quick question. Oops.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead,
Just on that same thing, we had a couple people that would sign for a year, a couple people that would sign for a year or 2 years. One of them said, you guys don't have to come here all the time. I'll put until revoked. We had 2 people that did that. And somebody in my club says, I'm not sure that's legit. So I'm just going to run that by you guys.
You actually can, and I'm sorry to run with this, but you can actually have an open-end landowner permission.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yep.
Cindy, I have a question. I'm sorry, but it's not on that. It's on something completely different. I thank you, first of all, for the TMA reports. They're coming through. Are clubs getting that information? Is Beth sending that out? I don't know if Beth is even online or on the meeting that can answer that. Sorry.
Yeah, reports are going to start next week or the week after for the season. As Sheila's been on vacation, she's been moving. So that's why it's a little bit, I mean, our season hasn't opened yet, but yes, everybody will start to receive all of their reports as well as their revenue like usual.
They got them last Friday.
Oh, the clubs did?
And they'll get them again this Friday, weekly. They got them from the beginning of the season, October 1st through the weekend before on this Friday. There's a 5-day delay.
Okay.
But yeah, they got them this Friday. And they'll continue to get them Friday.
Okay, Beth, if I remember correctly, and just correct me if I'm wrong, there was only one email though that you could put in, right, on if you went on the backside of the VAST website for that information to go to.
Correct, and that is one of many reasons that we suggest that clubs have a single club email that all officers can access.
Well, unfortunately, the club that I belong to, that's not the case, and we have one person that's old school. She does not do computers at all. And it's been going to somebody else, but they're not checking their email consistently. So perhaps I need to talk to them because I'm now in charge of that for that club. So maybe I need to speak to them and say, can we go and put me in as the email to get that?
Yeah, I think most clubs need to designate someone who's, more technology savvy, as we progress. For those kinds of things.
Well, I don't know if I'm technology savvy, but
well, can get email, which is pretty technology savvy for a lot of people. So yeah.
All right.
I can get what I need for information.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Great conversation. Is there anything more to come before the Board of Directors meeting tonight? Okay, nothing. We'll take it to a vote. If somebody would make a motion in a second.
Rutland County would make a motion.
Thank you, Kurt.
Windsor County, second it.
Thank you.
Here's everybody.
All those
Safe
in
drive
favor
home.
say aye.
Safe drive home.
Aye.
Those against nay. Motion carries. Have a great evening. Thank you, everyone.
Cheers. Be well, everybody.